Hi everyone, welcome to part 4. Excuse my hair, I need to straighten, okay? Um, so basically, part 1, part 2, part 3, we have been talking about hearing the voice of God, right? And so today we're basically talking about what becomes the hindrance to you being able to move in the will of God, right? So by now you know how to differentiate your voice, the enemy's voice, and God's voice, right? But now, when God does speak to you, what hinders you from being able to move forward? That's what we're talking about, okay? And the answer is actually very, very simple. It is your self will that hinders you, okay? When we say that it's the will of God over our will, it means that you need to surrender. So, what is actually the barrier of you being able to move in the will of the Father is your surrender. You will lack and you will refuse to surrender. When you see somebody who's surrendering their will, they're saying, okay, well, I feel like I could do it this way, but I'll choose yours. And so you cannot have yours and God's and try to walk forward. It doesn't work like that, right? You have to have one or the other. There's no other way that you can do it. You can't substitute certain things and say, okay, God, I'll take that from yours and I'll add it to mine and I'll put mine in a little bit of yours. You can't do it like that, right? You either go exactly how God tells you, which might be uncomfortable for you, right? Because remember that God will make you uncomfortable when He talks to you because He talks to you from what He knows about you, right? Like you have never been able to go and, speak to your family and give them like correction and say, we haven't been doing things right, whatever, right? And that's uncomfortable for you because you've learned like respect your elders and all those things, right? So God is going to push you forward. And in your time with Him, God has already put in you the ability to be able to speak, but you have to still depend on Him, right? So it's His will and not your will. And that is the only thing that hinders you, right? So when you're going in the will of the Father, you are surrendering. And when you surrender, it looks like you are splat on the road, right? It looks like I give in, right? But it is your option and your desire to give in, right? It is your decision to give in. Whereas when it comes to the enemy will force you to make a decision. God doesn't force you. He says, before you I put life and death, it is my hope that you will choose life, but it's still your choice at the end of the day, right? So this is what I will tell you. Your pride, your ego, your self-will, your understanding, the way that you like to do things, all has to be submitted to be able to choose God's will and then walk forward in it. And to walk forward in it is to trust God, right? Which everybody says, I trust God. You don't trust God. How do I know? You don't walk in His will, right? Because when you walk according to what somebody else says, even though you don't see it, you can't understand how it goes there. It means you trust the person. You trust the person, right? And so we don't trust God. A lot of people don't trust God. They just think they do. They think they do, but they don't go to it, right? So the only thing that will hinder you from being able to walk in the will of the Father is your will. Your will. The fact that you choose not to surrender because you think you know better, right? What I want you to know is in this life, you will always have two decisions, okay? There will always be two doors before you. It will be the door of God or the door of the enemy. There is no other door, okay? Two choices. And that's why God says, I belong to those who choose me. And before you chose me, I chose you. That's the amazing thing about being God's child. Is He says, before you chose me, before you decided that I'm going to receive salvation and belong to God, God said, I chose you. Right? So your decisions, right? They become compliant to God and you learn how to walk in God's ways because you trust Him, but you build trust. And you build trust by doing something that was uncomfortable or where you were not sure if you could trust a person, but you just tried. Right? Because what did I say to you in the previous video? I said that God is always trying to talk to you, but what you do is you put a cap over a flowing hose. So now God can't flow. And you can't hear His voice anymore because it's your inability to hear His voice is because you'll listen to another voice. Because you don't walk in His ways. You will not even try. So out of this entire thing, what I want you to know is your major hindrance is that you lack surrender. And wherever you lack surrender, I need you to understand that you don't think God is safe. Okay? Wherever you don't lack surrender, you don't feel God is safe enough for you. Because primarily as humans, we always want to feel safe. That's what our comfort zones are. And your comfort zones can be your friends, they can be your finances, they can be social media, they can be anything. Anything that makes you feel comfortable, peaceful, and like you are safe. And God will come and attack your safety unit so that you learn Him who is safe. So that's the only way you're going to learn it. That's the only way you're going to learn to walk in the will of the Father. Your safety is for you to not do the will of the Father, but God is going to attack that and He's going to come directly against that and say, do this thing. And that's uncomfortable. That feels unsafe for me, but that's so that you can learn that God is safe. Then you get to walk in His will because you're building trust and it becomes easier. So that's what it is. That's what it is, okay? So part 5, I will see you to talk about what does it look like when you are going back and forth in your will and God's will. What does that process look like? And what do you do with the stumbling pieces, okay? So I'll see you for part 5. Bye.